November 1949. As winter began in Uttarkashi, Swami Tapovan, per his usual schedule, went down to Rishikesh, accompanied by his disciple Chinmaya, and stayed at the Brahmananda ashram. The Prashnopanishad was taught here from November 29th to December 22nd, 1949. It discusses life in detail. The answers to 6 key prashnas or questions are given, such as, how did life begin? How is this body held together? What is the nature of prana? What happens during sleep? What is the benefit of meditating on Om? And so on. The fire was now burning intensely in Swami Chinmayananda. He would engage in long discussions with Swami Tapovanam, and these discussions were so intense that others were intimidated to even approach the two as they sat on the veranda of Tapovan Kutia. While in Rishikesh, Chinmaya would take a boat across the river to spend some time at Ananda Kutir. Reunited with his friends at the ashram, with great excitement he shared his newly found insights in the scriptures and his praise for Swami Tapovanam. Swami Shivananda listened to the lively and loving reports. It seemed that Chinmaya had found his true Guru and was going to be able to bear the life of austerity required to study under him. At that time, a letter arrived at Swami Shivananda's ashram. Mr. Kuttan Menon, a diabetic for many years, was ill and had written requesting that his son be allowed to visit him. Swami Shivananda granted permission. Chinmaya would take the long journey down to Kerala by train. It had been 10 years since Balan had left home and his family. He arrived at the house in Thrissur. Mr. Menon was sitting outside when suddenly a Swami, dressed in a streak of orange, blazed through the gate and prostrated at his feet. For a moment he was taken aback at seeing a holy man bow to him. But when he realized it was Balan, he hugged his son with tears of joy. Other members of the family crowded around them. The transformation of the radical youth to this Swami with blazing eyes made them all a bit apprehensive. Chinmaya would break the ice by saying, "Father, see, you always worried that I would grow bald if I oiled and fashioned my hair constantly. So I shaved it for that reason," and everyone had a good laugh. He would spend a week at this house, but staying only in the veranda, following the sannyasa dharma scrupulously. He visited local temples and met with various spiritual teachers in the area. And because of his Divine Life Society connections, he was asked to give several lectures in the area. His father had accompanied him to one of his talks and was completely shocked at the real transformation he had now witnessed in his son. He described his feelings in a letter to Swami Shivananda. Revered Swamiji Maharaj, salutations and adorations. Many thanks for allowing Swami Chinmayananda to visit me in my sickness. He had been sent back from here on February 8th to reach there by Shivratri as desired by you. He continued, I listened to his lecture on the divine life and to his answers to various questions put by the audience. I was really surprised at the knowledge you have been kind enough to impart in him in such a short period of time. The lecture was so instructive. I am convinced that the whole audience had no further questions to ask after his clear explanations. I feel myself much honored and blessed by having such a son for whom God has been pleased to give such a saintly Guru. I have no regret at all that I had given my free consent to him to be a pupil under you and to serve you for all time. With prem and pranams, your humble sevak and admirer, V.K. Kuttan Menon. By the first week in April 1950, Swami Chinmayananda was again in Uttarkashi with Swami Tapovan Maharaj. From April 7th through the 27th, he studied the Mundakopanishad. After this, classes would begin on the great Mandukya Upanishad from April 30th through July 22nd. The sessions were quite intense. They covered the Mandukya as well as its Karika or commentary by Sri Gaudapada. Swami Chinmayananda was burning bright with the fire of knowledge fully lit and thirsting for more. And like always, he took careful notes, spending hours after each lesson going over each word to be sure no term was forgotten, no thought left incomplete, no insight left undigested. And any free time he had was spent meditating on the mountain sides or on the banks of the Bhagirathi. His eyes had become intense and unfathomable in depth. He entered new realms, which further opened up new springs of bliss. He was eager to share this wisdom with the world. And that September in 1950, when he reached his old quarters at Anandakutir, Swami Shivananda's disciples found a totally transformed Chinmaya. "This world is unreal. It never came into existence," he would rave on for hours, like a man possessed. He didn't even think of food, not even his beloved tea. A strong desire began to rise in him to reach out to the world and share this newfound knowledge. In October, he returned to Uttarkashi and wrote to his cousin Bhaskara Menon on the 26th. "When the audience is ready, the Lord can speak through this mouthpiece." On the auspicious day of Vijayadasami, Swami Chinmayananda had an intense experience, and he shared it with his cousin in the form of a small handwritten booklet. Om. Chinmaya had no idea of writing any letter to anyone, but the accompanying is that which flowed out of this pen. Who guided it, this sadhu does not know. It was not the Swami's arrogating ego. It is written as it came. The actual text of this intense article, called Glory of the Mother, was later published in book form, and here are some snippets from it. It is 1 a.m. now. That means it is the 20th, the Dashara, the Vijayadasami day, the day for Vidyarambha. Mother Knowledge, help me, save me, guide me, enlighten me. Thou art my mother, the mother of all, for am I not the all? Why has Chinmaya not slept yet? Why is he still with his books, reading, yet not reading, brooding, yet not brooding, looking, and yet not seeing? The objectified world is not true and has no sense or significance apart from the subjective I. If I am not, the world is not. Parameshwara, Jagannatha, how long, how many more hours should I wait here for thee? Bless me, Lord, now, here, this very second, the Chinmaya Vijayadasami. Mother, help me. Shanmukha, stop this march from somewhere to nowhere. Stop. Dear Shanmukha, Priya Bhaskara, knowledge, bliss absolute, pranams on this sacred morn, the dawn of wisdom. The 9 days of Devi Puja has removed the 9 great sins of man. The 10th day ends the last of his sins, and the mortal, limited man in himself discovers that he is God. The great victory, Vijaya, the realization of what I am, and with this realization comes the knowledge that I had never been the I, Mr. So-and-so, but ever that, nothing short of the Lord Himself. There was never any darkness. I had placed my own hands in front of my eyes, and in play cried, "Oh, the darkness, the terrible darkness that envelops me!" There never was any darkness. There never was a Bhaskara or a Chinmaya. Shanmukha alone was and is, but he, in his Leela, had put himself into darkness and played the part of a drunkard, frightened of his own shadow, when there was no light to produce it. The eternal player removes his hands, the divine eyes open, light, dazzling light, the smile, the contented smile, joy, the joy eternal, Bhaskaroham, Shanmukoham.